The power bats came to play last night. Obviously, Pete Alonso with that massive grand slam. Brandon Nimmo going yard. Vientos gets a double to left field. 105 plus mile an hour single for Juan Soto. And obviously, David Peterson and the bullpen continue to shine, putting up numbers in the top half of the league through 4 games. It is exciting to be a Mets fan. We're going to break down all of that and a lot more next on MetCast. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of MetCast. As always, I am Rain. If you're enjoying this content, I ask you to like and subscribe. Make sure those notifications are turned on so you never miss an upload and you are notified when we go live for our Flushing finale segment that Dan and I are going to be bringing to you multiple times through the week, where we go live on YouTube for the final 3 or 4 innings of most games, break down those games, and talk to you about what happened, and we'll break down a post game as well. But I want to get to last night, and obviously what a night it was for us Met fans. Pete Alonso has the big grand slam, and it was clear as day, in my opinion, that the Miami Marlins are starting to pitch around Juan Soto, and Pete Alonso made them pay. He's almost getting the Aaron Judge treatment, that is Soto, where teams are going to pitch around him, and he's going to take those walks. You can't sit there and ask him to swing at pitches out of the zone, and I know a lot of Met fans actually think, well, we're paying him so much money, he should be swinging at those pitches. But I'm here to tell you, Pete Alonso, Mark Vientos, and Brandon Nimmo are going to provide Soto protection in a lineup that he's never had outside of just one player in Aaron Judge with the Yankees. So it's great to see that. We saw Brandon Nimmo's bat come alive, and I expect that power to continue. And so do the New York Mets. They're going to be flip-flopping Brandon Nimmo and Mark Vientos, I'm assuming, throughout the year in that 4-hole. Whoever's hotter is going to be hitting behind Pete Alonso. So it's good to see that. Francisco Lindor, due to him having a child with his wife, was off last night, but it did not matter. Starling Marte provided a little power in the leadoff spot, and I expect him to get a lot of starts at DH this year. Him, Jesse Winker, depending on the matchup, but clearly the Mets wanted to get his bat in the lineup, so it's good to see Marte, and he's clearly healthy after being plunked twice last night, unfortunately, but the power came to fruition. I also love to see that Mark Vientos, as I mentioned earlier, hitting those line drives to left field, but I want to emphasize this: teams are going to start pitching Vientos outside, as they started to last year. He's going to have to start using right center and right field more often, as when we all know, when Pete Alonso is hot, he uses that right center field and right field, and he's been doing it frequently early on. You had the grand slam yesterday to right center field, and he almost hit another ball out after that, which would have been amazing, but it just fell shy on the warning track. And now I want to get to David Peterson, a dominant 6 innings, only allowing 2 earned runs. He's continuing his great start this year off of his great second half last year, and I expect him to come away after this year potentially being the ace of our staff. And I don't think that's too overblown, considering the second half he had last year, the progression that we saw him make, and he was on point yesterday. Yes, it's against an inferior Miami Marlins team, but hell, they were in first place heading into yesterday in our division, which is great to see. Now I want to get over to a clip over on SNY. The guys talking about Pete Alonso's power surges, what they expect of him for the rest of the year, and I believe they touch on David Peterson a little bit. Let's give it a look.
For Alonso,
I think there's decent potential there. Certainly Soto's presence helps. I think Pete's track.
Soto's presence is massive for Alonso. Remember last year, we had guys like Jeff McNeil. He was the protection. A guy with absolutely no power and was hitting 240 was the protection for Pete Alonso. So this is massive. You can't just say it's going to help like it's so nonchalant. It is massive having the protection that Pete Alonso has. And let's also be honest, Soto or Lindor are going to be on base probably more than 50% of the time when Alonso shows up to the plate. So pitchers cannot necessarily pitch around Alonso. They got to give him pitches to hit, which is going to increase his numbers throughout the year.
Track record, which we might forget because of last season, is a factor as well. I mean, look, do I need a rookie year Pete performance where he's going for over 50 and 120? Not necessarily. I think it's possible. Look, the lineup beyond Soto, Lindor's presence, Viento's emergence, there's a lot to like, as we talked about Sunday night, in that top 5, top 6 or so. So if Pete's feeling like there's less pressure or less reliance on him to have the big year, to go deep all the time, I think that there is potential for that. Maybe the weight of the free agency last year off his shoulders a little bit, even though he could find himself back there again this winter. So you want him to be free and easy. Great to see him blow it open there for the team, for a struggling offense.
Yep.
Big hits in big spots. Let him build some momentum and just let him go.
Guys, I love this spot for Pete Alonso on the lap. I mean, my goodness.
Thank you, JJ.
You got Juan Soto, who's going to see a gazillion pitches night in and night out. He's going to get on base 40% of the time. And if you have Lindor and Juan Soto doing their thing from an on-base perspective, it means Alonso is going to have these ribby opportunities with ducks on the pond again and again and again.
Yep.
And this is someone throughout his entire career has been an absolute run producer. Now, I know 2024 was not his best season by any means, but he is set up beautifully to go and have a great prove-it type of year. I fully expect 40-plus home runs. I think he's going to be well north of 100 RBIs, and I think he's going to be set up quite nicely at the end of this year, Eamon, to go make a whole lot of money.
Yeah. The whole thing with Alonso, let's be honest, guys. Last year, he was in like a long-term slump when it came to runners in scoring position, the worst of his career that I've seen. So it's going to come down to that. Is he going to hit with runners in scoring position? And I think there will be a little pressure on Pete Alonso, because if he's not getting it done with runners in scoring position, the New York Mets could pivot to Brandon Nimmo or Mark Vientos. But that's why it's so important he gets off to a quick start, using right center field the way he has been over the last few games. Great to see.
Yeah, you say 40 plus, you say 50 home runs. Scott Boras here's cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching all over again. All right, David Peterson, 9 strikeouts in 6 innings, just 2 earned runs allowed. JJ, we've talked about him a lot too. Is Peterson moving into your circle of trust for the Mets starters?
Yes.
100%.
Yes,
he's already there.
Yes, absolutely, Eamon. I mean, think about the amount of big starts that David Peterson made for this team down the stretch of the year when they were just fighting and scratching and clawing, needing to get themselves in the postseason. And you kept waiting for the other shoe to drop with Peterson. It didn't happen. Then you put him in even more pressure-packed opportunities and situations in the postseason when you had him pitching out of the bullpen, and he did a wonderful job in the Philly series. He did a great job against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Peterson right now is 100% in my circle of trust.
So, yeah, Peterson,
not many guys are there.
Former first-round pick, a guy who I think is way more comfortable and way more confident doing his thing on the big league level. He's right up there. When I look at his pitching staff and guys that I can count on, assuming he takes the ball every 5th day, I think he's going to build upon what he did last year.
And that's what we have from the guys over at SNY. I could not agree more. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Where is your circle of trust with David Peterson? He's right at the top next to Sean Manaea for me, and then there's everybody else. I got to see Kodai Senga come back and pitch well before I put him back in that circle, only because of injury. Let's be honest, he hasn't pitched a lot over the last year and a half, but that's what I have for you guys today. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel and have notifications on, because Dan and I will be releasing our new Finale 2 Flushing Flushing finale segment, where we are going to be breaking down the final 3 or 4 innings live on YouTube throughout most of the season. Come join us live. Give us your input. We'll have a short post game after that, but that's a big thing that we're planning on doing specifically for our friends over at YouTube. So be sure to like, subscribe, turn those notifications on. Hopefully we get another win tonight. And as always, let's go Mets. Peace.